Hi, I'm Stephanie Barnes, and this is Brick Wall Chats. This is episode 19, and today's theme is employee engagement. My last one was on mistakes, and so I'm going to admit to a little mistake here as I get going. I actually recorded this video before, and when I went to edit it, half of it was totally screwed up. So little mistake there somewhere along the line. I'm not quite sure what happened, but I'm finally getting around to recreating this, and so yeah, little mistake. You never knew the difference. You guys never knew that I actually recorded it, so I didn't really need to tell you, but there you go. I'm telling you anyway. Anyway, employee engagement. I totally forget what I said when I recorded this before, so I'm going to make it up as I go along. Employee engagement came up a lot back at the time that I was recording these, back in the early summer, um, and the question I was getting from people is why this was important, why employee engagement mattered, um, and I haven't had those questions again lately, although it's something that has still been on my mind and occasionally has popped up. So employee engagement, it confuses me actually that people don't understand why this is important and why they need to pay attention to this. If you have bad employee engagement, if your employees aren't getting engaged in what they're doing in their jobs, in their companies that they're working for, in your company perhaps, they're not being productive, they're not meeting goals and objectives, they're not getting their job done on time perhaps. They're maybe spending their time looking for another job or some place that they might be actually appreciated. So you know what you've spent in bringing in finding this person that you've hired. It should be in your own best interest to keep them happy, or try and keep them happy, and give them interesting, engaging work, give them the space they need to do their jobs the way they see fit, as long as they're meeting the goals and objectives and the roles that you've set out for them. I know they should be able to do that, in a way that makes sense to them, even if it doesn't make sense to you or anybody else around them, as long as they're meeting those goals and objectives, and the purpose they're being paid, then, what's the problem? Knowledge workers, which is what we all are at this point, have different ways, different backgrounds, different ways of looking at things, and need to be able to sort things out and make sense of things in a way that makes sense to them, recognizing that this doesn't always make sense to anyone else around them, and that's okay. So yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't pay attention to employee engagement, and yet lots of companies don't seem to care about it. They treat their employees poorly, figure that they can hire somebody else, that there's lots of people out there, but there really aren't lots of people out there, not with the right skill sets. I know, and sometimes we get caught up in the technical skill sets and lose sight of the fact that having good project management and organizational skills and communication skills really should take precedence, in at least in some situations, over some of the technical skills. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have an engineer in an engineering job or someone with expertise in programming in a programming job, but I think sometimes we get too caught up in that and don't realize that we might have good candidates for these jobs. They just require some training. Perhaps this is an area that they would like to, coding or programming or something is an area that they would be interested in getting into. IT security is another area that pops into my mind as I'm talking here. Maybe they would benefit from some training, and you've got people that would have the soft skills around that, which are much more valuable than the hard skills can be taught. Those, go for training, take a class or 2 or 6 to get the certifications and things. But those other skills, the communication and the treating people with trust and respect and those kinds of things, are much harder to train and to teach people. Empathy is a hot topic for a lot of people, and there's empathy games. And in fact, I do some empathy work in the workshops I do sometimes, and it can be taught, but if someone already exhibits those, then maybe it's easier just to send them on a training for harder skills, or yeah, rather than the soft skills. Anyway, pay attention to employee engagement. You spend a lot of money recruiting people, bringing people in. Why would you want to see them leave after 6 months or a year and a half and have to go through that whole process again? Isn't it better to keep them happy and engage them and keep their job interesting and yeah, let them be successful and yeah, and worry about growth rather than just maintaining the status quo. Anyway, those are some thoughts on employee engagement. This has been Stephanie Barnes from Entelechy, which means realization of potential, and this was episode 19. I hope if you have enjoyed this, you will click subscribe on my YouTube channel and check out my webpage and things, and maybe get in touch if you have questions. Thanks. Bye.